Whitfield Report Morning Edition podcast. Hey there, folks. Welcome to this exclusive audio-only edition of the Whitfield Report. I am your host, Sam Whitfield, recording here at probably around 3:30, 4 a.m. in the morning on Saturday, July 11th, I guess. And I just decided to do a quick episode for you guys for a couple reasons. Didn't do a show on Thursday. So, I will be doing the live show tonight, but I couldn't really sleep, so I just figured I would do something creative. And for me, one of the creative things I do obviously is podcasting. Another reason is also though because I wanted to, in full disclosure, I recently bought an iPad Pro. That's actually what I bought with my Trump bucks, as it were. And I've wanted a Pro one for a long time. I had a standard iPad, but for what I'm doing in college, with some of the more technical stuff with my degree, which entails writing and graphic design and just general production stuff, I needed a Pro. I have a MacBook Pro, but I figured, when the time was right and I had the money, I would also get an iPad Pro, so that's what I did, and I love it. But one of the things that also appeals to me about this is that one of the features is that they have studio quality microphones built in to the iPad. And I've wanted a portable rig for a long time that I can just, kind of throw in my bag and do podcasting on the go. So hopefully the audio from this is good enough with maybe some minor post-production editing with, some of these podcast production apps that are coming out, that I can, actually do kind of a portable podcast rig. Tried this out with some, brief audio before I started recording this episode, and it sounded pretty good. So let's see how a more full-length episode sounds. But enough of the technical background stuff, enough of the nerd stuff. I just wanted to put that out there, though, for the listeners, so that you know that, yes, this is a partial experiment, but it is also a real episode of the podcast. Now, there are a couple things I want to talk about on this episode, as it were. I want to, I addressed the Discord thing pretty well on last week's show, on the 4th of July show. And I've done a ton of YouTube videos on it, so I don't feel like I need to, address Discord specifically and what went on there. I am still bummed out about it, I'm not gonna lie, but it's not the end of the world, and, it is what it is. For those wondering, yes, I did try to appeal the ban from Discord, and I knew they weren't going to lift it. But I tried. I emailed them, and I basically said that, hey, I got, banned. Uh, you know, the ban claims I was engaged in targeted harassment. I've never harassed anyone specifically or a group of people, so I'm not really sure what this is about. Please contact me and hopefully we can get this, sorted. Thank you, blah, blah, blah. So that happened. I actually sent that email out on July 3rd, I think it was. Yeah, I got banned on July 2nd, along with everyone else who was in the Gavin McGinnis Discord. I sent that email on the 3rd, trying to appeal it. And on the 4th of July, I woke up that morning and checked my email. And unsurprisingly, the support ticket I had, filed with Discord had gotten, answered. And the guy who answered me basically said, we reviewed your ticket and we're upholding the ban. Now, here's the real kicker. In the email, he said, there's more information specifically about your ban in the previous email that we sent. So please check that. Thank you. Discord trust and safety, blah, blah, all that. So I go back and I read that email again. And for those of you who don't, who haven't seen the video or haven't listened to the podcast from last week, basically, when I got banned from Discord, when I actually got banned, I was in the midst of a DM conversation with someone that wasn't even related to anything political. I was in a non-political Discord server at the time, actually having a non-political chat with someone. And I got logged out automatically on my phone because that's what I was using. And, simultaneously, I got an email pop-up in the Gmail account I used for Discord and, got that notice of account suspension email, right? And the email I had received basically said, hello, we have reviewed your account and you violated the Discord, rules and terms of service. Your account has been cited as engaging of targeted harassment of groups and or individuals. And you may have also, and the other thing is, and this was the real kicker, you may have also been involved in other activities which violate the Discord TOS, right? But they don't mention exactly, which group I've quote unquote, been harassing or anything like that. And, this is, and I later come to find out, as I suspect, that everyone else in the Gavin McGinnis Discord was permanently banned as well, right? all at the same time. That was pretty much a given, right? So, and like I said, I've talked about the Discord ban in depth pretty much, the event, how, what led up to it, all that. I don't want to rehash that specifically, but, so going back to when I emailed Discord support and got that email, saying that they were upholding my ban, and to, check the email I had gotten sent. Well, I checked that email that they had sent. And like I said, they didn't give any specifics. So I emailed them back and said, no, I never got any specifics. Can you at least tell me what specifically I got, banned for? Like a specific chat log or, something like that. And they never got a response, or I never got a response from them regarding that. Now, I talked to someone else in the Gavin McGinnis Discord, or I guess someone who was in the Gavin McGinnis Discord. I talked to someone else who had gotten banned, and asked them about, the appeal process, and they said that they pretty much, asked the same thing I did and got the same response. And, they then asked to see the apparent record, the apparent chat log of what they got banned for. And I guess they got a response of, they weren't allowed to see the record. Like it's confidential or something. That they can't see it. So basically, Discord has now started to ban people, and quote unquote, we'll use legal terms here. I know this isn't the law, but, just for the sake of this argument, let's go with this metaphor. So Discord arrests and charges members of the GMD with targeted harassment. But when the accused asks for proof and specific examples of this, Discord HQ simply says, nope, we can't actually show you what you're, why you're being accused of this. We're just going to tell you, and we're going to prosecute you. We've already decided that you're guilty, and we're going to, quote unquote, ban you, or, or in legal terms, lock you up and throw away the key. There's no chance for you to appeal this, right? That's basically what Discord is doing at this point. So, that's how my point in bringing that up with Discord is, if they're going to ban people, I feel like they should at least give the banned people a little bit more of a reason why they were banned, like maybe a specific record or something, of like a chat log or something, and if they wanted to anonymize other names in the chat or something, they could, and still show the records. At least, the person could know what they said wrong, I guess. But right now, Discord is just leaving, people high and dry, and, basically banning people for no good reason, right? Other than what we can all assume is wrongthink that doesn't line up with, the Discord staff's personal political and moral agenda, right? That's what I think we can, anyone with a brain can pretty much figure that out. Now, the reason why I bring this all up is because, obviously this happened on Discord, but this could happen on other platforms as well. And speaking of being banned on other platforms, my friend Apex Gamma was banned from YouTube on the 4th of July, actually. And in a way, I'm not surprised, but in a way, I am for, I guess, a couple reasons. The reason why I'm not surprised is because he was, clipping video of Owen and, of Owen Benjamin, and Owen Benjamin says some crazy, shit out there on the internet, as we know, right? But what did surprise me is the fact that it took YouTube like 2 years to ban Apex Gamma from YouTube, right? And he got like 3 strikes in a row, rapidly. So his account was banned instantly. Pretty much. The other thing that I guess, surprised me is the fact that the videos he had posted were like from 2 years ago, or, like a year and a half ago. Whenever I first met Apex Gamma, he started doing the Owen Benjamin expose videos, right? So these weren't like new, recent videos that Apex had done. These were from a while ago, and they just gotten banned from YouTube. So that was, surprising and dismaying. But to YouTube's credit, I will say, at least their system of banning people lets, people know like what specifically they got banned for. I'm not saying it's good, but it's better than what Discord does, if only slightly. Now, why am I bringing up the censorship thing, ladies and gentlemen? Well, it's because we are definitely in peak clown world levels. And like I've said before, I tend to be a very optimistic guy. I am still somewhat optimistic about the future. At this point, folks, I am jaded yet optimistic, which that might be the name of this episode title for all I know. I kind of like it. Yes, I'm still optimistic about the future, but I'm also jaded. Why? Because the left has gone so far left, especially in Silicon Valley, that now even the more rational and, I guess, quote-unquote non-controversial people are also now getting banned. And that's just the way things are. It sucks. It really does. And that's not to say I've never said anything controversial, but I'm not someone who goes around trying to stir up, trying to consciously stir up controversy, I guess. But this also just goes to show how nuts everything is. Because rather than me say something like, I'm 110% behind Black Lives Matter as a movement, right? And all cops are bad and all that stuff. I've always been, pretty nuanced as to say stuff like, yeah, obviously there are shitty cops out there, but hold on. We need to have a nuanced conversation about this type of thing, right? Because clearly there are bad cops out there. And, clearly a disproportionate of those, bad cops are going after black people in an unfair way. But that's not all cops, right? And, and then there are other factors like, a disproportionate amount of black crime and whatnot. Right? So, it is entirely possible, and I hate to borrow this phrase from Joe Rogan, but it is entirely possible to, think that, like, Black Lives Matter and that there are good cops, right? But that's not the way things work in 2020. You either have to be on one side or the other. And, Black Lives Matter is just one example of this. The other example, and this is where I find myself kind of battling this out, a lot these days, and it's kind of been like an off and on battle that I've faced, but it's still there nonetheless. So, with the whole coronavirus, or COVID-19 or Wu flu, whatever we're calling it now, by the time you listen to this, I've never said that the virus was fake. I've always believed that it's real, right? And I have always advocated for people doing whatever they need to do to, take care of themselves. Wash your damn hands. Exercise, practice good hygiene. Stay optimistic. Stuff like that. I've never, like I said, I've never denied that the virus was real. However, I've also said, from the beginning of this, that, politicians, and the quote-unquote powers that be will most certainly use the coronavirus to push political agendas, and that they'll blow things out of proportion, which is exactly what they've done. So, and for some reason that makes me sound like, I don't know, some people think that because I think that the virus is being used for political purposes, they think that I'm one of those fake virus people, which I'm not. Although, I will say, and I don't like saying this, but some of the fake virus people, I think, have a good point, maybe, to some of this stuff. Right? That the government is, trying to push through a lot of stuff, in the name of this, of quote unquote, like, curing this virus. Right? And that this is getting politicized beyond ridiculous means. Beyond ridiculous means. Yeah. Like I said, I've never said that the virus was fake, but, I do think it's overblown. And I think it's entirely possible to believe both. This virus has definitely been politicized now. This whole second wave of COVID that we're now seeing, quote unquote, that's of the second wave that's hitting Florida and Texas. As I said this, I said this last week on the 4th of July episode of the podcast with, Sean and Apex Gamma. Those are the only two states, Florida and Texas, where there were no, massively violent, Black Lives Matter protests. Or, riots that broke out. There was none of that. There were peaceful protests in Florida and in Texas, but none of them really got violent, right? So, because Texas and Florida, which are both controlled by Republican governors, were mainly peaceful, well, in the meantime, all of the Democrat, cities and states, had, endless amounts of rioting and, looting and acts of vandalism and whatnot. The mainstream media decided to, blame to say that a spike in COVID occurred because, Texas and Florida, quote unquote, reopened, early, which was funny because, while we were opening, people were doing tests in the cases were not only staying pretty steady in Florida, some of them were actually going down in certain areas despite the reopening. But, yeah, sure. Reopening and then Memorial Day, I guess, was, a big factor according to the media. But nothing about, all of the protests across the nation that might have led to a rise in corona. Right? That's why people are beginning to get skeptical of all this. And I understand it. And I don't blame the skeptics. And as far as the mask thing goes, I've been pretty upfront with you guys. I haven't really worn a mask, not because I'm against wearing a mask, but because I really haven't needed to, unfortunately, because I do stay at home mostly. And then, I'm sorry, but I'm not going to, I don't feel like I need to wear a mask just walking around the neighborhood, to be around like all my neighbors who I'm exposed to all the time anyway. That just seems weird. If they have COVID, they should cover themselves. But I'm not going to. I mean, restaurants are a little bit, of a different thing, and I guess bigger stores like, Best Buy and Walmart, or like, I get that. I don't know why I picked those two stores, but whatever. Like if I go into a crowded, you know, space where there's lots of people, obviously I wear a mask. But if it's like a smaller, area where there's like not a lot of people, do I really need to be wearing a mask like when no one is around? Like even at McDonald's, right? Like as long as the staff is like, wearing proper coverings, and as long as there's not a lot of people there, and if I'm just, running up to grab something, you know, to the one right by my house, do I really need one? I mean, I guess, yeah, now I do, because they made that like a rule recently that I guess now you can't even come in without like a mask, which is unfortunate. Um, but I mean, suffice it to say, I think there are instances where you can, get away with wearing a mask, and then, with or without wearing a mask, I should say, excuse me. And then I think there are instances where you definitely should wear a mask. And it, like, specifically too, if a company asks you to wear a mask, like, or if a business asks you to wear a mask, then, then you most definitely should. And, a prime example of that is the Apple Store, right? Like, I have a relative who works at the Apple Store, and who basically like I said, this person works for the Apple Store, the family member, and this person told me that basically Apple has had to start closing down all the Apple stores again because people won't wear masks, and it's not worth risking employees' safety and other customers' safety, right? So, it sucks because no one likes wearing them, but now, because some people won't, I guess they've now had to close the store again to everyone, and, it just sucks. So, like when I don't wear a mask, when I don't wear a mask, it's not a political statement, and then when I do wear a mask, it's not a political statement either. Like, your whole morality shouldn't really, depend on whether or not, like, you're quarantining good, or, quarantining bad, or rebelling against the quarantine good, or rebelling against the quarantine in a bad way. And, like, that's the ultimate thing is, people are, like, really politicizing this in a really messed up way, when, really we should just focus honestly on, like, just trying to talk to each other rationally about these things. But unfortunately we can't. And, but I think we should try, at least. That's what I'm trying to do here tonight. And I'm trying to encourage you guys to, stay optimistic and stay positive about the future. The one thing I will say is that is kind of conspiracy related is, do I think this virus is real? Yes. Do I think, it's being blown out of proportion by the deep state? Yes. Same thing with Black Lives Matter. Do I think Black Lives Matter? Well, obviously, yes. In fact, I'll take it one step further. I believe that, Black lives before birth matter too. Similar to what Kanye said earlier this weekend. I don't want to get into Kanye on this podcast, but I probably will on tonight's live stream episode, because it is quite honestly, let me just say this. Kanye amazes me sometimes in both good ways and bad ways, and sometimes both simultaneously. I'll admit that. So, I'll cover what he had to say, but, basically, like I said, I think you can support Black Lives Matter as a concept, but, the organization is, the organization and the whole slogan is basically, it's been co-opted, right, by far left radicals. It's become politicized, right? Same thing with the Me Too movement. The Me Too movement, set out and exposing, Harvey Weinstein and, really, powerful, executives and people in positions of power who quite honestly did abuse their power and should have been, maybe let go for creating a hostile, work environment. At the same time, though, then you have, people like Louis C.K. who, yes, I know I've brought this up, did some lewd stuff, but it wasn't on the level as, it wasn't the same stuff as, what Harvey Weinstein did. And yet once Me Too got politicized, it definitely, it basically started becoming a witch hunt thing. And I guess that's the, main message of tonight's, podcast is, the big problem is we politicize everything when we really shouldn't. And I know I'm guilty of it too. But, maybe we stopped, thinking of, COVID and Black Lives Matter strictly from a political perspective, then maybe when we might actually be able to get something done on it. Or, or on those two different things. I am hoping so. But, anyway, folks, I want to thank you for just listening to me ramble here. And I'll be back tonight at 10 p.m. for the, live show. So thanks for listening to this little, test podcast of mine on my iPad. And, like I said, really appreciate it. So, thanks, guys. And let's see if I can stop this now. Let's see. Oh boy.